Hey everybody, I hope today finds you well. We are at chapter 58 of The Count of Monte Cristo, The Duel. The night wore on. The Count of Monte Cristo knew not how the hours passed, for his mental tortures could only be compared to those he had suffered when, as Edmond Dantes, he had lain in the dungeon of the Chateau d'If. History was repeating itself once more, only the external circumstances were changed. Then his plans were frustrated at the 11th hour through no action on his part. Now, just as his schemes for revenge were materializing, he must relinquish them forever, solely because he had not reckoned on one factor: his love for Mercedes. At length, as the clock struck 6, he roused himself from his dismal meditations and made his final preparations before going out to meet his voluntary death. When Morel and Emmanuel called to accompany him to the ground, he was quite ready, and outwardly at least, calm. They were the first to arrive, but Franz and Debray soon followed. It was not until 10 minutes past 8, however, that they saw Albert coming along on horseback at full gallop, followed by a servant. "How impudent to come on horseback when about to fight with pistols, after all the instructions I gave him," said Chateau Renard. "And just look at his collar and tie, his open coat and white waistcoat," said Beauchamp. "He might just as well have marked the exact position of his heart. It would have been simpler, and would have ensured a speedier ending." In the meantime, Albert had arrived within 10 paces of the group of 5 young men. He pulled up his horse, jumped down, and throwing the bridle to the servant, walked up to the others. He was pale, and his eyes red and swollen. It was easily seen he had not slept all night. There was about his whole demeanor an unaccustomed sadness. "Thank you, messieurs, for having granted my request," he said. "Believe me, I am most grateful for this token of friendship." Noticing that Morel had stepped back as he approached, he continued, "Draw nearer, Monsieur Morel. To you especially are my thanks due." "I think you must be unaware that I am Monsieur de Monte Cristo's second," replied Morel. "I was not certain, but I thought you were. All the better. The more honorable men there are here, the better pleased shall I be." "Monsieur Morel, you may inform the Count of Monte Cristo that Monsieur de Moncouf has arrived," said Chateau Renard. "We are at his service." "Wait, messieurs, I should like a few words with the Count of Monte Cristo," said Albert. "In private?" Morel asked. "No, before everyone." Albert's seconds looked at one another in surprise. Franz and Debray began whispering to one another, while Morel, overjoyed at this unexpected incident, went in search of the Count, who was talking with Emmanuel a short distance away. "What does he want?" asked Monte Cristo. "I only know that he wishes to speak with you. I hope he is not going to tempt me with fresh insults." "I do not think that is his intention," was Morel's reply. The Count approached, accompanied by Maximilian and Emmanuel, his calm and serene mien forming a strange contrast with the grief-stricken face of Albert, who also advanced towards his adversary. When 3 paces from each other, they stopped. "Messieurs, come nearer," Albert said. "I do not want you to lose a word of what I have to say to the Count of Monte Cristo. For strange as it may seem to you, you must repeat it to all who will listen to you." "I am all attention, monsieur," said the Count. "I reproached you, monsieur, with having made known Monsieur de Moncouf's conduct in Epirus," began Albert in a tremulous voice, which became firmer as he went on. "I did not consider you had the right to punish him, however guilty he might be. Yet today I know better. It is not Fernand Mondego's treachery toward Ali Pasha that makes me so ready to forgive you. It is the treachery of Fernand the fisherman towards you, and the untold sufferings his conduct has caused you. I therefore say to you, and proclaim it aloud, that you were justified in revenging yourself on my father, and I, his son, thank you for not having done more." Had a thunderbolt fallen in the midst of his listeners, it would not have astonished them more than did Albert's declaration. Monte Cristo slowly raised his eyes to heaven with an expression of gratitude. He could not comprehend how Albert's proud nature could have submitted to this sudden humiliation. He recognized in it Mercedes' influence, and understood now why the noble woman had not refused the sacrifice which she knew would not be necessary. "Now, monsieur," continued Albert, "if you consider this apology sufficient, give me your hand. In my opinion, the quality of recognizing one's faults ranks next to the rare one of infallibility which you appear to possess. But this confession concerns me alone. I have acted well in the eyes of man, but you have acted well in the eyes of God. An angel alone could have saved one of us from death, and that angel has appeared, not to make us friends perhaps, but at least to make us esteem one another." With moistened eyes and heaving bosom, Monte Cristo extended his hand to Albert, who pressed it with respectful awe as he said, Monsieur de Monte Cristo accepts my apology. I was guilty of a rash act, but have now made reparation for my fault. I trust the world will not look upon me as a coward because I have followed the dictates of my conscience. What has happened? Beauchamp asked Chateau Renard. Methinks we make a very sorry figure here. In truth, Albert's action is either most despicable or else very noble, replied the Baron. What does all this mean? Debray said to Franz. The Count of Monte Cristo brings dishonor on Monsieur de Montcalf, and his son acknowledges that he is justified in doing so? In his place, I should consider myself bound to fight at least 10 duels. As for Monte Cristo, his head was bowed, his arms hung listless. He was crushed under the weight of 24 years of memories. He was not thinking of Albert, Beauchamp, or Chateau Renard, nor of anyone around him. He was thinking of the courageous woman who had come to him to crave her son's life. He had offered her his, and now she had saved it by confessing a terrible family secret, capable of killing forever the young man's love for her. Well, Mercedes saved them both. But how will the revenge go forward? Will it change? I'll see you next time.